Welcome back to our video presentation, still tackling the concepts on pure substances. So previously, we have talked about elements. So elements are made up of a single type of atom, which is an element, obviously. And your element can be identified based on its number of protons or its atomic number. And they are arranged in increasing atomic number on the periodic table. At the same time, you can classify elements on the periodic table as either metals or nonmetals. Your metals are on the, let's say, leftmost part of your periodic table, and your nonmetals are on the rightmost part of your periodic table. Okay, at the same time, you can classify them as metalloids, or these are in the middle of being a metal or non-metal. So recall also the different properties that distinguish a metal from a non-metal. Also, your elements can be classified as either natural or synthetic. So natural are naturally occurring elements in the environment, while synthetic are those elements made in laboratories. So continuing our lesson, we will delve now into the, let's say, discussion on compounds. So in order for us to define compounds, we look at two key aspects. So the first key aspect is the law of definite proportions. So recall in our last session, we stated the law of definite proportions as a given compound always contains elements in specific mass ratios regardless of its source. So when we say specific mass ratios, okay, it means that your compound has a distinct chemical formula. And each chemical formula is the same to that specific compound regardless of where it's coming from. For instance, you have tap water, water coming from a faucet. It has a chemical formula or a specific mass ratio of H2O. It contains two hydrogen and one oxygen. That is its specific mass ratio. Two hydrogen, one oxygen. Next, you have your rainwater. Your rainwater, despite not coming from a faucet, despite not coming from the pipes in your homes, it is still H2O. It is still the same. It has the same chemical composition as your tap water. Two hydrogen, one oxygen. Next, your ice. Yung tig-dos na yelo sa tindahan. Okay? Your ice, although it is solid in nature, it is still H2O. Still contains two hydrogen, one oxygen. That is what we mean by law of definite proportions. Okay? You have specific mass ratios regardless of where the material is coming from. Still, it is the same matter. It is the same material. All H2O. All water. All right? The next key aspect is what we call chemical bonding. Now, your compound are actually made up of different atoms that are held together by chemical bonds. Okay? So meaning to say, for example, last time you have H2O, you have two hydrogen and one oxygen. And these two hydrogen and one oxygen are held together by chemical bonds. And we have two types of chemical bonds. First is the covalent bond. Covalent bonding, or let's say covalent bonding, occurs between a nonmetal and a nonmetal. So when two nonmetals combine, they form a covalent compound. And in a covalent compound, the electrons are shared. Sir, what do you mean by electrons are shared? Recall again your valence electrons. In chemical bonding, the valence electrons are the ones involved, the electrons at the outermost shell. So let's say you have element A and element B. If they share their outermost electrons, it means that they are participating in a covalent bond. The electrons are shared. Okay? Next, ionic bonds. So ionic bonds can occur between a metal and non-metal. Okay? Metal and non-metal. And as opposed to covalent bonding, your ionic bonds, or let's say ionic bonding, occurs when electrons are transferred. So you have element A and you have element B. Element A has, let's say, electrons at the outermost shell. Instead of sharing those electrons, they are transferred. Okay? They are transferred from one element to another. It is not shared, rather, it is transferred. Sir, I cannot imagine it. So let's try looking at this covalent and ionic compounds. So in covalent, you see here that this element and this element shares the electrons. Okay? Element A has one, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7 valence electrons, while element B has also 7 valence electrons. In order to stabilize it, they share their electrons. All right? So element A can be a metal, let's say, sorry. Element A can be a non-metal, and then element B can also be a non-metal. But in the case of covalent bonding, element B can be a metal, a non-metal rather, or a metalloid. Okay, again, let's try to clarify that. All right. In covalent bonding, it occurs between a non-metal and a non-metal. So element A can be a non-metal and element B can also be a non-metal. But in this case, element B can also be a metalloid. Sir, why? Because your metalloid, okay, has let's say it has characteristics same of both a metal and non-metal. All right? So meaning to say, element B can be a metalloid because your metalloid still possess a characteristic of a non-metal. Sir, how do I remember which are the non-metals and metalloids in the periodic table? I will give you a mnemonic. For non-metals, you can use the mnemonic synopse-in-on. So you have your carbon, hydrogen, helium, nitrogen, oxygen, phosphorus, sulfur, selenium, and those ending in chlorine, fluorine, iodine, astatine, tennessine. These are nonmetals. How about those ending in on? Okay? You have your argon, krypton. All right? So those are the elements um, that can be classified as nonmetals. How about for metalloids? Your metalloids, you can have this mnemonic, Bigeasb Citipo. Okay? Bigeasb Citipo. Boron, germanium, arsenic, you have your antimony, you have your silicon, tellurium, polonium. That's your metalloids. And then the rest that are not involved in these mnemonics, those are metals. So you can see most of the elements are metals. All right? Now, how can metals be bonded? That's where ionic bonding comes in. So in ionic bonding, we say that electrons are transferred, not shared. How does that work? So let's say we have this element A and element B. So element A has one valence electron. Element B has seven valence electron. Instead of sharing these electrons, element A will just transfer their electron to element B. And because of this transfer, they can either gain or lose a charge. Okay? Since element A is the one who gave, it obtains a positive charge. And since element B is the one who gained electron, it gets a negative charge. Okay? Because remember that your electrons are negative. And since B gained another electron, it just became more negative. While since it lost its electron, it became positive. Okay? That is what we meant by the transfer of electrons. So you see here, um, atom A or element A, let's say, gained a positive charge while its electron was transferred to atom B. And again, ionic bonding only occurs between metals and non-metals. So we can assume that element A is a metal and element B is a non-metal. Okay? So that is how you differentiate between covalent compounds and ionic compounds. Okay, let's try to have the following materials or substances. And let's try to classify whether it is covalent or ionic. First, we have your sodium chloride, NaCl. So, what do you think it is? Is it covalent or ionic? So remember in our mnemonics, okay, we have synopse inon. So meaning to say chlorine is non-metal. And then your sodium is actually a metal. So it is a bonding between metals and non-metals. Hence, it is an ionic compound. Next, you have methane, CH4. What do you think it is? Okay, based on our mnemonic, synopseinon, you have your carbon as non-metal. You also have hydrogen as non-metal. And since both of these are non-metals participating in a bond, they are covalent. Next, you have your hydrogen sulfide, H2S. Again, synopseinon. Hydrogen is present as a non-metal. Sulfur is present as a non-metal. Bonding between non-metals, you get covalent bonding. Next, magnesium chloride, MgCl2. Again, synopseinon. Chlorine is a non-metal. Meaning to say, your magnesium is a metal. Metal plus non-metal, ionic. Next, silver nitrate. Again, synopseinon. Okay? Synopseinon. So you have nitrogen and oxygen as nonmetals, while your silver is a metal. Metal plus nonmetal, ionic. Then you have your phosphate. Again, synopseinon. You have your oxygen as nonmetal. You also have phosphorus as nonmetal. Nonmetal and nonmetal covalent. Okay? So that is how you differentiate covalent compounds from ionic compounds. Now, moving on. How about oxygen gas? Can we say that oxygen gas is a covalent compound? What do you think? So remember that your oxygen is a non-metal. And there are two oxygen atoms participating in a bond. Can we say that it is a covalent compound? Remember the term compound. Let's try to find out. So your oxygen gas is composed of two atoms of the same element. And since it is composed of the same element, the same type of atom, it is not a compound. Rather, it is an element. So can we say that it is a covalent compound? Obviously, no. It is not a compound. But the question is it covalent? Okay, the two oxygen atoms are covalently bonded. Remember that oxygen is a nonmetal. Okay, again, the two oxygen atoms are nonmetal and they are participating in a bond. Our principle, nonmetal plus nonmetal, you get a covalent compound. You get a covalent substance. But in this case, it is not a compound. That is why you call an oxygen as an element molecule. It is not an a covalent compound, rather it is a covalent element molecule. This is where we enter with the concept of molecule. Sir, what is a molecule? Is it the same as a compound? Let's try to find out. So your molecule are two or more atoms bonded together. Is the definition familiar to you? Remember that when we say compounds, these are two or more different elements bonded together. Two or more different elements bonded together. But in molecule, it is two or more atoms bonded together. So meaning to say, it can be the same atom that are bonding together. It can be different atoms bonding together. So can we say that a compound is a molecule? Yes, all compounds are molecules, but not all molecules are compounds. Okay, let's try to put that in Tagalog. Lahat ng compound ay molecule. Pero, hindi lahat ng molecule ay compound. Why? Let's go back to oxygen gas. An oxygen gas is a molecule, but it is made of a single type of atom. But it has two atoms bonded together. Two atoms of the same element bonded together is a molecule, but it is an element, not a compound. Okay? Next. Okay, next. Let's try to. All right. So let's try to continue with the definition of molecule. So your molecule is the smallest unit of a compound that retains its chemical properties. Again, all compounds are molecules, but the smallest unit of compound is a molecule, and it retains its chemical properties. Okay? So, your molecule can further be classified or distinguished into two: diatomic, and the other one is polyatomic. But first, let's delve into diatomic. When we say diatomic molecule, from the prefix di, it means two, and then atomic, atoms. So, a diatomic molecule is composed of two atoms. And diatomic molecules can be further classified into two. First one is the homonuclear molecule. So when we say homo, it means same. Nuclear means element. Remember that your nucleus contains the number of protons. Okay? And since the protons identify the specific element, okay, it pertains to a particular element. So homonuclear, same element. Two same elements bonded together are homonuclear diatomic molecules. Next, heteronuclear. So hetero meaning different, nuclear elements. Different elements bonded together. So heteronuclear diatomic molecule, you have two different elements bonding together. So let's provide some examples later. The second type of molecule is a polyatomic molecule. Poly means many. Atom means atoms. Many atoms. Okay? So these are molecules composed of more than two atoms. So what are the examples? So we will provide the examples. For diatomic homonuclear, so molecules composed of the same element, two the same elements. Sample, oxygen gas, the same oxygen. Next, nitrogen gas, the same nitrogen. Hydrogen gas, the same hydrogen. Okay? Two same elements bonded together are diatomic homonuclear molecules. Next, heteronuclear. You have carbon monoxide. Two different elements, carbon and oxygen, bonded together. Next, you have your nitrous oxide. Nitrogen and oxygen bonded together. Two different elements. Next, you have your cyanide. You have your carbon and nitrogen bonded together. Next, you have hydrochloric acid or muriatic acid. You have your hydrogen and chlorine bonded together. Okay? Two different elements bonded together. How about polyatomic? We say that we have many atoms bonded together. Example, carbon dioxide. Okay? So we have a total of three atoms. Two types of elements, but three atoms. One carbon, two oxygen. Is three more than two? Yes. That is why it is a polyatomic molecule. Next, ammonia. You have one nitrogen and 3 hydrogen. Okay? You have 4 atoms. Next, you have your water. 2 hydrogen, 1 oxygen. 3 atoms. You have your barium chloride. 1 barium, 2 chlorine. 3 atoms, more than 2. You have your potassium permanganate. 1 potassium, 1 manganese, 4 oxygen. 6 atoms. Next, you have your hydrogen sulfide. Oh no, this is not hydrogen sulfide. This is sulfuric acid, rather. Okay, this is your sulfuric acid. So you have 2 hydrogen, 1 sulfur, 4 oxygen. So you have 7 atoms. Okay? But let's take a look at this. You have your oxygen gas and you have your ozone. Like oxygen gas, it is just the same element. Okay? It is a molecule of the same element, oxygen. Oxygen gas composed of 2 oxygen. Ozone composed of 3 oxygen. What do you call this? Okay? Same element but different structure. Same element, okay? Same composition of element, but let's say different arrangement of these elements. Okay, so your oxygen gas and ozone have different physical and chemical properties. Your oxygen gas, it is the one we breathe. Ozone, it is still gas, but it is the one that coats in the, let's say, protects us from the radiation in the atmosphere. They exist in different molecular forms. Okay? For example, your oxygen gas is O2. Only 2 oxygens are bonded together. Ozone, O3. 3 oxygens are bonded together. Different molecular forms. But still, they are made up of the same element. If that's the case, you call that allotropes. Okay? Your allotropes are substances that have different physical and chemical properties and exist as different let's say exist in different molecular forms but are made up of the same element. All right? So your allotropes, the same element, different molecular forms, okay, and different physical and chemical properties. What are the examples of allotropes? You have your diamond and you have your graphite. Both diamond and graphite are consist of numerous carbon elements. Both are made up of carbon elements. But take a look at the molecular structure. They are different from one another. Okay? So the same carbon, the same element, but different physical properties. Diamond is harder than graphite. And also this different molecular structure. If you look at the diamond, okay, it has a more crystalline form, while graphite has a more, let's say, flat, okay, flat stack. Okay, so this one is more crystalline, and this one is stacked. All right, so these are the allotropes of carbon. Okay, and that actually wraps up our lesson for this session. Now, on your notebook, try to, let's say, apply what you have learned. I have given here 5 different substances. Okay, you will identify what elements or atoms are present. So for chlorine, what elements are present? You can just write the symbol. Okay, for potassium nitrate, what are the elements? White phosphorus, what are the elements? Platinum, what are the elements? Glucose, what are the elements? Next, how many atoms in total? So you count the total number of elements. Okay, how many types of atoms? You count the how many elements are there. Okay, how many different elements are there? For example, H2O, water. How many atoms in total? You have 3 total atoms, but 2 types of atoms. Okay? Next, here in the following columns, you just put a check whether or not the substance here is an element or a compound, whether it is ionic or covalent, whether it is homonuclear diatomic, heteronuclear diatomic, polyatomic, or if it is an allotrope. Okay, again, what is an allotrope? Allotrope The same element, different molecular structures. All right. And that wraps up our session for pure substances. I hope you learned something and I thank you for your attention. So good luck and study well.